The Man Who Can't Breathe is probably the most mysterious paranormal entity in the Insidious franchise. Not much is known about his history or backstory, but by studying his appearance and his victims, we can learn more about him. Like in my analysis of the red-faced demon, there's a major clue about his origin hiding in plain sight. The Man Who Can't Breathe is a grimy, sickly-looking creature with an oxygen mask over his gaping hole of a mouth. The Respiratory Care Journal states that the first cylinders for storing oxygen were developed in 1868, which allowed its use in general anesthesia. This means that the Man Who Can't Breathe, at least in his current form, is less than 140 years old. It is possible that he existed before that because he does demonstrate the ability to shapeshift, but chances are that we'll never know. For all intents and purposes, the oxygen mask form is what we're concerned with for this lesson. The red-faced demon's bright, bold, almost carnival appearance was for the purpose of deceiving curious children, thereby luring them into the further, but this evil spirit has a different goal.
Usually entities of this type, living in the dark, they want to possess the bodies of the living so that they can leave the dark and return to life. But there's another kind of spirit. It's an even worse kind. One that does not want to leave the dark, that wants the souls of the living to join it in the shadows.
So it's likely that the Man Who Can't Breathe's frail visage is intended to garner sympathy from the victims, and maybe even remind them of someone they know who has suffered. In 2007, that's exactly what happened to Quinn Brenner and her family. To learn about the other victims of the Man Who Can't Breathe, how he gains power over them, and if he could return in a future Insidious installment, stick around to the end of this video. Welcome to Horror History. Everyone said that Redface looked like Darth Maul, so why not create an antagonist that sounds like Darth Vader? I just hope they don't make one that smells like Darth Sidious. The Man Who Can't Breathe's only appearance was in Insidious Chapter 3, which centers around Quinn Brenner, a girl mourning the death of her mom and suffering the effects of the lack of motherly guidance as she's trying to break out into adulthood. To reflect the circumstances, writer-director Leigh Whannell created The Man Who Can't Breathe as an embodiment of cancer and the kind of misery and misfortune that can damper a person's life in general.
I actually said to the special effects makeup team who was creating him, I said, imagine if cancer, the disease, was a person. What would he look like?
And that look was realized by special makeup effects creator Justin Raleigh. As for his canvas,
I remember saying to Terry, the casting agent, I was like, you know, I want someone like that guy from Seven. He should look like he's on the verge of death.
And that's the exact guy they got, Michael Reed McKay. But this time, instead of the victim, he took the role of the villain. There's actually some confusion, though, about what the Man Who Can't Breathe really is. Is he some kind of vengeful ghost, or a demon, an entity who was never human to begin with? To answer that question and the other mysteries of this character, I'm gonna take it back to some of his earlier victims. The Fleur de Lis apartments where the Man Who Can't Breathe seems to be situated were built in 1930, and it seems he has roughly 7 or 8 victims spread over the time since then, although most of them look more modern, like this woman, who's not interested in talking.
Get away from me!
And this girl, Danielle, who says that the Man Who Can't Breathe made her kill herself. I'm guessing she was the most recent victim before the entity attached itself to Quinn.
Where was his bed? He's got a new bed. There's no end to it. You can't even kill yourself to get away from it.
This is the Man Who Can't Breathe's main source of attack. He goes after people dealing with depression and tries to manipulate them into ending it, so that they will join him in the dark forever. He's essentially hoarding and collecting souls. The end of their lives does not equal the end of their misery. Danielle exists in a perpetual state of rain, a weather pattern often associated with depression. The table is set for his next target in late 2005, when Quinn's mom, Lilith Brenner, passed away from lung cancer. It's easy to imagine at the end she probably didn't look too different from the Man Who Can't Breathe, making it a little harder for Quinn to differentiate between the two when she's later visited by the entity, which would happen around spring 2007 approximately.
Like at night, I'll be in my room or I'll be asleep and something will wake me up.
I'll find things in weird places. Like I'll find my diary somewhere strange.
At first, Quinn thought her mother was trying to reach her from the afterlife, which she actually was. She wanted Quinn to find the letter she had left in the back of her diary. However, the entity waking her up in the night was not her mom, which meant trouble when Quinn tried to make contact on her own, and this is when the Man Who Can't Breathe attached himself to her. Eventually, she visited psychic medium Elise Rainier for help reaching her mother, but Elise ends up making contact with something far more dangerous, possibly the Man Who Can't Breathe.
You have to be very careful. If you call out to one of the dead, all of them can hear you.
Elise likely senses that something has attached itself to her and suggests that she go see another psychic, not realizing that this encounter has also attached the demon to her. Quinn goes home and immediately ignores Elise's advice by calling out to her mom. This is where you'd probably expect me to dunk on her, but she's desperate to talk to her mom again. I get it, I'll save my rant for someone more deserving. She senses something in her air vents, and since the man who can't breathe's domain is this building, the ventilation system seems to be an avenue for him to get around. He follows her that morning to an audition that she's doing for a theater school and waves at her on top of a catwalk, right as she's calling on her mom to help get her through the audition. However, she botches the audition, and that night, as she's headed home with her friend, he appears to her again as she's crossing the street, which distracts her from some psychopath attempting to murder her with a car. She somehow manages to survive, but she's knocked into a temporary coma, during which she travels to the further and finds herself in a black void where she encounters her otherworldly stalker up close for the first time. This has probably the opposite intended effect and it jolts her away. But when she's finally healed enough to go back home, she would find that she is not safe from this suffocating stranger.
The man who can't breathe. The man who lives in the vents. I heard him saying your name last night.
As many of you know, being a creator is more to me than just making content. You guys see me in other comment sections, at events, I'm all about that creator life. That's why I was really excited when Youtooz reached out about doing a CZsWorld vinyl figure, because I had seen my favorite creators release Youtooz figures over the years, so to me, this was more than just a cool merchandise opportunity, this was a rite of passage. I wanted to make my Youtooz the greatest one of all time, so I did. The CZsWorld Youtooz combines my classic horror history getup, complete with Overlook Hotel carpet pattern tie, with the iconic CZsWorld logo mask. We really went all in on the details for this, not just on the figure itself, but the entire box and presentation is premium artwork. And because of that, it's only going to be available for a very limited time. Once these are gone, they're gone forever. Unless you want to be shelling out millions of dollars to get one of these on eBay in the future, I'd recommend you pick it up now by clicking that link in the description. I'm super excited to announce that these are now available, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the CZsWorld community does with their Youtooz, so make sure and send me those pictures on social media once you receive them. You too can take home a piece of CZsWorld with Youtooz. As Quinn tries to get some sleep in her own bed, the man who can't breathe looms over her menacingly. We can only speculate if his plan was to make her a traffic fatality, or if he simply wanted to break her spirit with another tragedy, thus making it easier to absorb her soul. As he gets closer, Quinn's dad, Quinn Brenner, comes in and turns on the lights, which seems to cause the man who can't breathe to dissipate. There are multiple examples of him disappearing in the light, which falls in line with his character. Depression is often described as a deep darkness, and light can literally help cure it. It goes further, no pun intended, because the light and dark are also used to refer to the real world and the further in the Insidious franchise. The dark is literally his domain. The following evening, he continues to try to break her. She knocks on her neighbor's wall and he knocks back, but she quickly finds out that her neighbor wasn't actually home. This is the weirdest part of the movie. She asks if she woke him up and he responds with "I'm not at home," which doesn't answer the question. I get that the point was for the audience to learn that it wasn't him knocking on the wall, but from Hector's point of view, he doesn't even know that she knocked on the wall if he's not home, so he should have just answered the question. That's basically my only gripe with this movie. This scene doesn't make sense. After Quinn has turned off the lights, he attacks her in a much more direct manner. In addition to being able to use the air vents to travel, he has the ability to walk on walls and hang from the ceiling, so he shockingly grabs her from above, causing her to scream as cracks permeate on the ceiling. Her dad hears the commotion and takes the manager up to the 5th floor, where he finds black, tarry footprints in the room directly above Quinn's room, continuing on under the bed. It seems that he's using the uninhabited upstairs apartment as a base of operation. Sensing Quinn's troubles, a guilty Elise tries to reach out to Lily Brenner the next night, but once again only manages to draw the attention of the demon. And yes, I do mean demon. After following a new set of black footprints through her home to find her psychic reading room somehow unlocked, Elise announces that she is unafraid.
I've fought many like you in my time, demon.
There's some inconsistency when it comes to identifying this antagonist. A demon is an inhuman spirit, whereas a ghost is the spirit of a human who passed away. The red-faced demon was obviously a demon, as opposed to the bride in black, who was a person who eventually became a ghost. Elise refers to the man who can't breathe as a demon at first, but later says this.
This entity is very powerful. It's a spirit who used to live in this building a long time ago.
Before eventually going back to calling it a demon. So which one is it? In an interview with Collider, Leigh Whannell was asked if this new entity was more like Redface or more like the Bride, to which he says this.
I would say he's more in line with the fire-faced demon from the first film.
And in the making of documentary, Macabre Creations, he seems to imply that there is a demon in Insidious Chapter 3.
In an Insidious film, your demons are your bread and butter.
On top of that, there are only two creatures who demonstrate the wall crawling ability, the red-faced demon and the man who can't breathe. I think the name, the man who can't breathe, refers to this particular demon taking on a more humanoid appearance. And when Elise says that he's a spirit that used to live in the building a long time ago, I don't know, maybe his appearance is based on someone who once lived in the building? Or maybe that's just like something she made up to make herself look more credible, I don't know. Or how about this, maybe when she said he lived in the building, she just meant that he inhabits the building. He wasn't actually alive. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. The footsteps lead to a dead end in her basement, then continue up the wall, leading to where the man who can't breathe stands upside down on the ceiling. He attempts to choke her and she screams. Guess she's afraid now. She's able to break away and run up the stairs to safety, but when she gets there, her sweater is torn as if something had slashed through it. Like we've seen other entities do in the past, he's trying to scare her away to prevent her from helping Quinn. The next day, he moves closer to taking Quinn's soul. During a video chat, her friend Maggie notices someone else in the room with her, but thinks that it's her brother, Alex. Quinn eventually realizes that the man who can't breathe is standing in her windowsill, staring intensely at her. He suddenly drops down under her bed, and when she goes to look, he instead grabs her from above and throws her out of the bed. He calmly walks to the window and shuts out the light with a curtain, then closes the door, ensuring complete darkness in the room. He pins her down, but once again, her dad comes to the rescue, and when he opens the door, light fills the room and the man who can't breathe disappears. However, this time he's able to take a piece of her soul with him, and this other half of her manifests in the further as an incomplete version of her, missing several key features like eyes, nose, mouth, hands, and feet. As the man takes more of her soul, the second Quinn would become more and more complete. I see this as a visual manifestation of her will to live. As bad things continue to happen to her, such as losing her mom, failing to impress her dream school, and becoming physically disabled, she gets more and more depressed and gives more of her soul away to the Quinn in the darkness. At one point, she even tells her dad that she can no longer taste her food, which is an uncommon symptom of depression known as anhedonia. She would meet the second Quinn shortly after. Wheezy comes down from the ceiling again and transports her to the abandoned 5th floor. It's never really spelled out for us if this happened while she was actually asleep, but I'm guessing that's the case. She comes to while she's alone for a moment. We don't know why, but I can only imagine that he just wanted her to get her hopes up that she might be able to escape, only to crush them by appearing behind her and wheeling her back into captivity, dumping her on the floor of apartment 514 and injuring her even further. She comes face to face with the alternate version of herself, and somehow Quinn's banging on the floor gets the attention of her dad below, and he comes to the rescue with a flashlight. The man who can't breathe creates an illusion that he was actually a crazy man who jumped out the window, causing Sean to follow a new set of black footprints to the window and see what looks like a terminal patient splattered on the sidewalk. However, this is only a fake out, because when Quinn looks over, she sees something much different. Her dad is able to pull her to safety, and later tries to recruit Elise, which the demon is probably aware of, but Elise is unable to make it to him. She's going through a depression arc of her own after losing her husband the year before and being attacked by a different entity while trying to contact him in the further. So instead, self-proclaimed ghost hunters Specs and Tucker outfit Quinn with a night vision camera, and hours later they observe the man who can't breathe most likely moving this camera and hiding it in a closet. At this point, the evil entity seems to have enough of Quinn's soul to possess her temporarily. In Insidious 1, we saw the red-faced demon essentially puppeting Dalton, but I don't think that's necessarily what's happening here. Quinn appears behind them and manages to kick Tucker to the ground with her broken leg, beat down her dad with a pipe wrench, and then knock Specs down with a single swing. Insidious 3 came out a couple years before we would see something similar in Cult of Chucky, where the voodoo-possessed Nika is able to walk on 2 paraplegic legs. It's probably the same idea though. The possession is literally just a means of taking a body and manipulating it. So it's pretty clear that it's the demon talking, not Quinn, when she says this.
You're a useless fucking father. Your wife had to die to get away from you. And now I'd rather be dead too.
It's quite possible that Sean is already lined up as the next target. The man who can't breathe will keep causing pain and continually turn the cycle of depression in order to collect more and more souls. With that, his use for Quinn in the world of the living was no more. As the possessed Quinn tried to delete her own file by bringing a box cutter to her neck, she was seized by Specs and Mr. Brenner. We see her try to run up the wall, like what happened in Elise's basement, but they stop her and pin her down on the bed, where an eyeball travels up her throat and stares at them through her open mouth. The only logical interpretation that I have of this moment is that this is part of the process by which the second Quinn gains new features. This could also maybe explain the backwards face lady that we saw earlier. Maybe her soul was being reassembled in the further and got put back together the wrong way. They're able to restrain Quinn, which temporarily puts a hold on the man who can't breathe being able to do anything in the real world. However, Elise shows up and explains that he's feeding on Quinn's life force to get stronger, and that with half of her soul already absorbed, they'll need to hurry to prevent him from taking all of it. She goes into the further and knows she's in the right place when she finds the doorknob covered in black tar, which seems to cover everything that the demon touches. However, he is prepared with a plan for dealing with Elise. He presents in the form of her late husband, Jack. Not only is the man who can't breathe knowledgeable enough to be familiar with the weaknesses of those who oppose him, but he also shows that he's a master of emotional manipulation. At the beginning, he knows that Quinn is desperate to talk to her mother, and uses that to his advantage to try to trick her into believing that the paranormal activity was coming from her. Now, he's using the fact that he knows that Elise tried searching for Jack in the further to convince her to take her own life using the shape-shifting form. However, he does leave a clue about his true identity.
Stop breathing in it like I did.
After she strikes him back with his own blade, he retreats into the dark and re-emerges in his true cancerous form. With a clap, he summons the copy of Quinn, who has now gained a nose, a mouth, and feet. Elise pushes the demon away to try to escape with Quinn's fragmented soul, but a powerful stomp tosses the whole room into disarray, and a dresser knocks them to the ground. Still, he gives chase to the elevator but cannot get there in time to stop the two. But this entity doesn't really need the elevator thanks to his ability to travel through the vents and along walls. He cuts them off and throws Elise down the hall with a single hand before caressing Quinn. We can see how he's creating the false promise of nurturement for her, which is part of what she's been missing in her life ever since her mother's passing. He wants her to give up on life and come over to the dark side. But, as I mentioned, Elise had just been through her own state of depression, retiring from the paranormal business after being threatened by the Bride in Black. But she comes out of her shell when she sees Quinn, who has so much more life to live, falling into the same rut and nearly giving up her soul because of it. Elise strikes back with a stomp of her own, sending the man who can't breathe crashing through the floor. But as always, he quickly gets back to them before Quinn has a chance to rejoin with her body and the other half of her soul. He takes hold of her and strokes her hair, all in a very motherly fashion. As he consumes more of her, the further version of her gains hands and fingers. He's on the verge of taking her in full when another spirit shows up. It's Lily Brenner. Only this time, it's really her. She whispers something to Quinn, which seems to awaken her. Now, with fully formed eyes, she removes the oxygen mask from his face, causing some kind of liquid to gush through the gaping hole that is his mouth. To me, this symbolizes all of the life force that he had stolen from her, and possibly all of the others that he had captured, spilling out, allowing her to be free of his grasp and return to her own world. There is a sense of finality to his encounter with Quinn, and if I had to guess, this is the death of the man who can't breathe. However, I wouldn't be shocked to learn he survived and moved on to a new target. But at the end of the day, that's just my interpretation. The man who can't breathe is a character we don't see much of, even in the scenes he's in. Unlike the other antagonists in the series, his background is mostly unknown. I think the designer of his character's look put it perfectly.
I think it's always better to have something for your imagination, and hide it and not put something right in front of you, right in your face. I think the best horror movies are you keep it in the dark, you show a little bit, and let the imagination of the audience go from there.
That's how the horror scenes are handled, and that's how the lore surrounding him is handled, leaving the man who can't breathe as one of the biggest mysteries from the career of Elise Rainier. But to fully appreciate the world of Insidious and the further, you need to understand the stories of its inhabitants. So click on that playlist on the left, and if you love horror, remember to subscribe to CZsWorld for new horrors every week, ring the death bell for all notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Assuming we both survive.